Want to speak real English from your very first lesson? Get instant access with your free lifetime account at LangAdvance.com.
Welcome to my course on mastering the art of the English language. As the world leverages the power of technology, digital, and social media, the ability to communicate information and ideas effectively has become one of the most critical skills required if you want to achieve your potential and make a positive contribution to society. In this course, your program is designed to help you become a more purposeful speaker, more effective in the use of grammar in all areas. Most importantly, it benefits your life dramatically. So why is grammar so important? Grammar exists to make you shine. In any situation where you need to make a good first impression, grammar will come to the rescue. Grammar is not just about avoiding mistakes. No. It is the barometer of clarity and credibility. This course is for dedicated learners of English who are ready to take their English to the next level. If you want to have natural conversations with native speakers, or if you need to communicate in English at work, perhaps even a university course, this program is for you. This course is for anyone who wants to master the art of the English language, or who simply needs to review the grammar rules. You will be able to grasp the subject matter faster, retain those critical knowledge skills, and most importantly, if you're a student in the audience, you will gain better grades. I am here to help you, and I thank you for taking the opportunity to join this journey with me. Welcome. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we're going to be talking about verb tenses and their consistency, maintaining them or changing them. So what is a verb tense consistency? Verb tense consistency means sticking to a verb tense for the entire clause, the entire sentence, or the entire paragraph. Do not shift tenses unless necessary and appropriate. Take this sentence. It is confusing and inconsistent with the verb tense. Here's the example. Michelle painted her room red, arranges her closet, and will wash the car. The verb painted is in the past tense, while arranges is in the present tense, and will wash is in the future tense. This sentence is too hard to understand. You might want to consider revising a sentence like this again to keep to one tense throughout. Here's an example. Let's take that sentence and make it: Michelle painted her room red, arranged her closet, and washed the car. Michelle painted her room red, arranged her closet, and she will also wash the car. In the last example, the shift to the future tense was will wash. It's clear and appropriate because it's part of another clause. It expressed a new thought, and because of that reason, it maintained verb tense consistency. We want that. Let's start taking this example. I'm going to give you the example of Haley. Haley lives in the basement of her parents while she looked for an apartment. Lives is in the present tense, referring to an ongoing action. That's okay. However, looked is in the past tense, so to make the tense consistent, you need to change the word looked to its present tense. Can you spot the difference? Listen closely. Haley lives in the basement of her parents while she looks for an apartment. That's so much better. Last year, Mitch adopted Lily. Cam gets a new job as a football coach, and Phil has bought a new car. The adverb last year is in the past tense, so revise the verbs gets and has bought into their new simple past tense. Can you spot the difference? Last year, Mitch adopted Lily. Cam got a new job as a football coach, and Phil bought a new car. That too is so much better. Consistency counts. Verb consistency is not only at the sentence level. No. It also counts on the paragraph level. Here's an example of a paragraph with an inconsistent verb tense. See if you can hear and spot the inconsistency. Yesterday, Rem and Lena went for a jog. Halfway through their course, the two come across a newly opened bakery, where they buy 3 boxes of cookies. So instead of jogging as planned, they have consumed the creamy chocolate cookies while walking home. Rem says they will try a different route next time, to jog without being tempted by freshly baked cookies. Did you spot the inconsistency? I hope so. If you were thinking about revising such a paragraph to maintain consistency throughout the paragraph, you might have written it this way. Yesterday, Rem and Lisa went for a jog, period. Halfway through the course, the two came across a newly opened bakery where they bought 3 boxes of cookies, period. So, instead of jogging as planned, they consumed the creamy chocolate cookies while walking home, period. Rem said they would try a different route next time, to jog without being tempted by freshly baked cookies, period. Keeping one verb tense helps clarify. It keeps your clarity as a speaker and a writer, specifically in understanding the definite time frame of the action that's being narrated. However, I do want to insert that there are times when shifting tense is crucial to the meaning of a written piece, which is to say it's done on purpose. When you change tense, you want to make it on purpose to have intent, meaning it has to be appropriate. Shifting tenses indicates a change in time frame for your clauses, for your sentences, and your paragraphs. Be careful. Use the proper tense. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for making the commitment to master the English language. Today we're talking about hyperboles. Hyperbole is a figurative speech. It uses exaggerated comparisons, or what they call overstatements, for emphasis and literary effect. Like all figures of speech, hyperboles, it's not meant to be taken literally. Loving with the fire of 1,000 suns refers to the burning passion of someone loving. It wouldn't make sense to take it literal and pair it with unconditional love. While a hyperbole may sound ridiculously impossible, it leaves us as listeners and readers with a visual grasp. We're intrigued. This is the reason why I encourage you to not only learn examples of hyperboles, but also to be creative and insert them into your work. The purpose of a hyperbole, when used wisely, it injects energy, it injects color, and it certainly paints the picture in a meaningful way to the viewer and to the listener. Using it in everyday conversations is also encouraged. For example, you might decide to insert it as humor. You could say, "It smells so bad as if a bunch of toddlers threw up on it." Or, "Our math class is taking forever." "She is so rich, she can buy your car for your birthday." Using hyperboles doesn't just mean that you're using it in everyday speech. You'll find it everywhere, from films to speeches to song to literature. I want you to keep in mind that when using a hyperbole, it's an example of you igniting imagination. However, as in everything else, do make certain to keep it in moderation. To come up with a hyperbole, consider listing attributes of a person, thing, or an idea on which you want to use it. Choose which of these attributes or elements paint the most vivid imagery. Craft your sentences and comparisons that play with the imagination. Decide which comparisons best justify the attribute of the person, thing, or idea you're writing about. Go for one of the most powerful ones, the most engaging. An example of a hyperbole turns up when you talk about loss. It's not the most positive subject by any means. No words can possibly express a mother's mourning for her son's passing. So we can say, "His death tore his mother into 1,000,000 pieces." Again, not intended to be taken literally. Clearly, in this example, she was not torn literally into 1,000,000 pieces. However, though, it did convey the depth of her sorrow. And so in this regard, hyperbole creates imagery, but it certainly conveys the meaningfulness of the words you are intending. Use your board as a reminder, and happy learning! Welcome back! I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we are going to be talking about adjectives and how they modify nouns and verbs. Most of the times, nouns alone cannot encapsulate the intensity of our feelings, our experiences, our thoughts. A devastating storm sounds more definite than a storm. We use adjectives such as enormous, giant, slow, pink, insane, childlike, dull, excellent, to describe nouns or pronouns. The tiny words a and an and the, known as articles or determiners, are the most frequently used form of adjectives. Remember that adjectives do not modify verbs, they do not modify adverbs, and they do not modify other adjectives. When you think about adjectives, adjectives express the quality and the attribute of a noun. In general, they answer the following questions: what kind, which one, how much, or how many. Here are some examples of adjectives. I want you to see if you can identify what question it might be answering. Andrea is a passionate filmmaker. Can you spot the question that it's answering? What kind of filmmaker is Andrea? She's passionate. If you said what, you were absolutely correct. What kind? Andrea is passionate. Let's try it again. I'm going to give you a sentence. You see if you can spot the question that it's answering. We're allowed only 5 absences in class. Can you spot the question that the adjective is answering? If you said how many, you're right. Correct. 5 is in fact answering how many absences. Let's try it one more time. I want to make sure you have it. A suspicious man peers through my window. Can you spot what question the adjective is answering? If you said what kind, you are correct. The word suspicious speaks to the fact of what kind of man. What kind of man? A suspicious man. Adjectives usually precede the nouns they modify, like in the examples that I provided. But adjectives don't only define nouns, they appear after linking verbs itself. As a subject complement, a predicate adjective defines or refers to the subject and follows a linking verb. Remember that linking verbs are forms of the verb be, as in to be, such as is, will, am, are, have, and sensory verbs such as feel, seem, smell, sound, look, appear, taste. Attributes and nouns go hand in hand with adjectives. Keep this in mind as you continue to explore which adjective you're going to use to add splash to your sentences. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for dedicating your time to mastering English. So here we are. Today we're going to be talking about comparing nouns and adjectives, what they call the degrees of comparison. More than just modifying nouns and pronouns, adjectives actually express degrees of comparison. Example, Project A is easier than Project B, but Project C is the easiest among the 3. Adjectives show the degree to which a noun has the quality of being discussed. Here are a few more examples to help you understand that adjectives are referenced in 3 types. 1 is the positive absolute degree. The second are comparative adjectives. In that, it's the comparative degree. The third is the superlative degree. Let's talk, before we give the examples, just a moment about what each type entails. Positive adjectives, also called absolute adjectives, are the base form of adjectives. Positive adjectives modify words on their own without the need for comparison. Words that are used in positive adjectives could be tall, big, high, bad, lovely, kind, weak. When we think about the second type, the comparative adjectives, we are thinking about comparing 2 items, 2 things. To form the comparative degree of 1 or 2 syllable adjectives, you would end it in ly, or you would add the suffix er, or just r for adjectives ending in the letter e. Bear with me. For longer words, add more or less in front. Here are your examples to help it come clear. Examples are bigger, lovelier, simpler, more exciting, more beautiful, less expensive, less cheerful. Lastly, we have our third type, superlative adjectives. Superlative adjectives compare three or more things. To form the superlative, add the suffix est. Add the suffix est to the word, or precede it with the word most or least. So if we were thinking about some examples for the superlative adjectives, the third type, you might be saying words such as tallest, loveliest, brightest, most behaved, most liked, most shocking, least improved, least creative. Degrees of comparison are something to consider when you want to add some complexity to what it is that you're trying to describe. I'm going to give you an example of a comparative degree. That's box number 2 on your screen. Sheena is more punctual than Jean. Joshua looks younger than Paul. Joyce seems better now. Let's go for a moment to box number 3, the superlative degree. Here are your examples. Of the 5 students, Jan is the brightest. Miss Loken was the best teacher I had in college. Among all my friends, she was the most reliable. Those are examples of taking a positive absolute degree and making it comparative and then turning it into a superlative. You can easily take the word wise, which would fall under box number 1, and turn it into box number 2 by saying wiser. You can then turn it into box number 3 by saying wisest. You can take the word loud and turn it into box number 2 by saying louder. You can then turn it into box number 3 by saying loudest. You could even take the word stubborn and turn it into box number 2 by saying more stubborn. You can then turn it into box number 3 and say most stubborn. Let's do it one more time, just so you have it. You can take the word important and turn it into box number 2, which is comparative degree, by saying less important. You can then take that word and turn it into box number 3, which is superlative degree, and say least important. I hope this helps. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for dedicating your time to mastering English. We are going to be talking about adverbs. Adverbs are words that modify other words. An adverb is a word that modifies a verb. He walks slowly. Slowly is the adverb, and it's an example of it modifying the verb walks. However, though, an adverb can also modify an adjective. Here's your example. It's quite dirty. An adverb can also modify another adverb. Here's your example. She arrived very early. Or an adverb can modify a whole clause. Here's your example. Luckily, he survived the fall. We are so used to adverbs ending in ly that if you took a survey within your circle of friends and asked them what an adverb is, most likely they'll tell you that it ends in ly. But It does not always have to end in ly. In fact, adverbs take many different forms. One thing that is in common is that adverbs usually answer a set of questions. What are the questions? The questions are where, when, how, to what extent, how much, or how long. Let's look at an example of an adverb every time answering when. Good moments happen every time you're around. Here's an example of an adverb nearby answering the question where. The dad parked nearby. Here's an example of the adverb suddenly answering the question how. Suddenly, everything changed. And here's an example of the adverb barely answering the question to what extent. I barely remember what happened. The emphasis here is that an adverb is most commonly used to describe verbs, and in such cases, you can easily track it. Think about it. I want you to listen closely to the word carefully. I'm going to read a sentence and see the way that it is used. The students who listened carefully during the class got the highest grades. The adverb carefully in this example does tell how the students listened. Listen to the adverb wholeheartedly and how it's being used. He loved her wholeheartedly, but it wasn't enough. The adverb wholeheartedly tells how or how much he loved her. Now let's take a look at the adverb rarely. We rarely visit Mom, but we video chat often. In this example, the adverb rarely modifies the verb visit, while the adverb often modifies the verb video chat. So there you have it, some examples of the way that adverbs modify. I want you to also just keep in mind, going back to this variety, that we have a term called adverbs of conjunction, which is to say that they're conjunctive adverbs. These conjunctive adverbs talk about similarity and they talk about differences. One example of a conjunctive adverb is accordingly. The group itself is actually quite vast. When you want to use them, you might consider again. You can also consider the word besides, consequently, conversely, earlier, eventually, finally, first. For example, for instance, furthermore, hence, in addition, in fact, namely, nevertheless, on the contrary, on the other hand, subsequently, that is, then, and therefore. All of these words are examples of conjunctive adverbs. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering English language. We are going to be talking about linking verbs. A linking verb connects the subject to a word in the predicate. Because linking verbs do not express an action, they also don't require a direct or indirect object. Your board in front of you reminds you that there is a subject complement when we consider linking verbs. Examples of linking verbs can be to be, is, am, are, will, have been, appear, seem, look, taste. Perhaps you want to use smell or sound or turn or become or grow. There are many options, and that's the point. There are popular linking verbs. And so I'm going to use one in an example. I want you to listen closely and see if you can point out what the linking verb is. Monty is an engineer. Can you spot the linking verb? If you said is, you are correct. Give it a try. Here's another one. Mara seems nice. Can you spot the linking verb? If you said seems, you are correct. Seems is the linking verb. Let's try it one more time. They will be okay. Can you spot the linking verb? If you said will be, absolutely, that is the linking verb. So remember, subject complements are relative to linking verbs. They follow linking verbs. A subject complement is a word or group of words that follow a linking verb, and they identify or explain the subject. Keep in mind that the subject complements always refer to the subject itself. In the example of Monty is an engineer, the linking verb is connects the subject Monty to the subject complement and engineer, which explains something about Monty. Nouns, pronouns, and adjectives can be a subject complement, whether as a single word or as a phrase. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that a noun or a pronoun that functions as a subject complement is also called a predicate nominative. So when you hear that word predicate nominative, you know that it ties into the subject complement. It might seem like a lot to remember, but practice does make perfect. And with that in mind, here are some examples of sentences that have subject complements. I'm going to state the sentence. Let's see if whether or not you can identify the subject complement, as well as the linking verb. Rachel is ditzy. Can you spot the linking verb? Can you also spot the subject complement? The linking verb in that sentence, Rachel is ditzy, is. The adjective ditzy is a subject complement modifying the subject Rachel. They're connected by the linking verb is. I'm going to give you another example. It was her car I saw last night. Can you spot the linking verb? If you said was, you are correct. That is in fact the linking verb. One more. She is the faithful who claims that nothing is impossible. Can you spot the subject complement in she is the faithful who claims that nothing is impossible? The subject complement, the faithful, modifies the subject she. The subject complement, impossible, modifies the subject nothing. And in that sentence, the linking verb was is. Welcome back. I am so proud of you and all the hard work that you're doing. We're going to be talking about subject-verb agreements. Subjects must agree with verbs in two key ways. One is in person. The first person subject I agrees with the verb speak. The third person subject she agrees with the verb speaks. The second way is in number. The singular subject she agrees with the verb speaks. The plural subject they agrees with the speak. I know it can get a little bit confusing when you're just beginning, but Fortunate for you, I have 11 guidelines of subject-verb agreements. Number 1 of the 11 points to remember is that singular subjects take singular verbs, while plural subjects take plural verbs. For example, take the sentence, Mary likes talking about her pets. There is a singular subject and a singular verb agreement. So let's think about this one. The pandemic continues to change our way of life. There is also a singular subject agreement with a singular verb. Now let's give you an example of a plural subject, plural verb agreement. Kirby and Grace are always having a good time together. That's an example of a plural subject and a plural verb agreement. Just so we can solidify this point, I'm going to give you one more. Pay close attention. The travel restrictions affect the delivery of goods and services to remote areas. That's an example of a plural subject and a plural verb agreement. Agreement is good. So we are moving right along to the second point I want you to remember. Two or more subjects, also called compound subjects, joined by and are plural and take a plural verb. Here's an example. Her sweet voice and expressive eyes make the producers love her. Two things are loved about her. Here's another example. Movies, music, and literature keep him alive. Two or more subjects joined by and are plural and take a plural verb. Okay, guideline number 3 points to singular subjects. Singular subjects joined by or nor take a singular verb. Here's an example. Neither his mom nor his sister likes his new girlfriend. Here's another example. Either Lenny or Isco is running for president. And there you have the third. What about that fourth? In the fourth point to remember, I want you to remember that when a compound subject contains both a singular and the plural subject joined by or nor, the verb agrees with the nearest subject. So the verb does in fact agree with the nearest subject, and this is what we call the rule of proximity. The rule of proximity states that there must be location considered when you go to speak and when you go to write. Here's an example. My paperwork or other commitments are piling up. That is a sentence that follows the rule of proximity. Here's another example. She or her brother is taking the car to work. That is an example of a sentence that follows the rule of proximity. Your fifth point. When a phrase comes between the subject and the verb still agrees with the subject. Here's an example. His love for the arts is inspiring. Point number 6. Phrases such as together, with, as well, along with, including, accompanied by, and in addition to are not the same as and. They do not compound the subject. If the subject is singular, the verb is to. Here's your example. Watching Blue's Clues as well as reading storybooks develops a child's artistic skills. Point number 7. The following common pronouns are singular and take singular verbs. These are each, either, neither, one, everyone, everybody, no one, nobody, anybody, someone, somebody. Let's see one of those words in an example. Everybody in the classroom likes pizza. Here's another example. Somebody has to take the lead role. Remember, pronouns like each and one are usually followed by prepositional phrases, so make sure that the verb agrees with the subject, not the noun or pronoun in the prepositional phrase. Moving along to number 8. The words some, any, none, all, and most may either be singular or plural, depending on a word in the prepositional phrase that follows the subject. So what does this look like in a sentence? Here's what it looks like. Some of the practices in their house are unconventional. Here's another example. All of his money goes to charity. Point number 9. Some nouns end in S, but are usually singular and require a singular verb. Examples are physics, mathematics, news, measles, mumps, rabies, civics, and even billiards. Here's an example of one in a sentence. Mathematics is my least favorite subject. Well, we have made it to guideline point number 10 and guideline point number 11. So to wrap up this one, pay close attention. The last two are as important as the first round. Number 10. Number 10 states that expressions of money, time, and measurements usually take a singular verb. If the subject refers to the total amount, use a singular verb. Here's an example. $10 is not enough to buy a decent dress. Here's another example. 5 years is too long to live away from home. Point number 11. In sentences beginning with there and here, the verb comes first before the subject. Determine the subject and make sure the verb agrees with it. Here are your examples. Here is my mobile number. Here are my favorite colors. There are unreturned books in your bag. There is not enough coffee to drink. I am so proud of you for covering subject-verbs agreements. I'm going to encourage you to use the board in front of you to keep this in mind when you go to practice. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we're going to talk about conjunctions, connecting words and phrases. In front of you, you have a reminder of fanboys. We talked about it in another module. So what is a conjunction? While short sentences are easy to read, they might not be able to fully convey what it is you're meaning. Concise is okay. Too short is sometimes not. Likewise, long sentences that try to squeeze in a lot of thoughts may be hard to swallow for some of your listeners or some of your readers. They might get tired of either reading or listening. So, you want to be thinking about conjunctions. A conjunction is a word that joins words or groups of words. It helps to break down the idea into readable or listenable chunks, which we call units. Use conjunctions to connect your thoughts and achieve clarity. Here are different kinds of conjunctions that you might want to consider. Number 1. Coordinating conjunctions are the most popular connecting words. They join words, phrases, and clauses of equal value in a sentence. The coordinating conjunction fanboys is the reason we're revisiting it because it is the most popular. Fanboys stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. They said their final goodbye for they knew it was time. She watched a movie and lost track of time. He didn't take a bath, nor did he change his clothes. Social media expands our world, but we should use it wisely. We could attend the Mass, or we could go to the park. The president isn't doing his job, yet he still reigns. She gave us an easy test, so all of us passed. So there you have it. Fanboys is a fantastic way to use your coordinating conjunctions to gain clarity. You want to keep in mind that there are also correlative conjunctions. Correlative conjunctions come in pairs. For example, either or, neither nor, not only but also, both and an. Here are some examples of using correlative conjunctions. My friends will play for either the hotel or the food. Neither the teacher nor the students felt the earthquake. The pandemic not only devastated our livelihood, but also exposed a fragile world. Both Alice and I are going to Wonderland. Those are examples of correlative conjunctions. There's one more important area to cover in terms of types of conjunctions. This is the subordinating conjunction. A subordinating conjunction are words or phrases that connect a subordinate dependent clause to an independent clause. Remember that an independent clause is a group of words that form a complete thought, meaning it has a subject and a verb and can stand on its own. In contrast, a subordinate clause or dependent clause is a group of words that does not express a complete thought. It cannot stand on its own. So what are some subordinating conjunctions you can use? A few of them are here. Only, even if, in order that, in case, once, before, till, while, whereas, when, whenever, as if, as long as, and as much as. I hope that you'll turn to your board when trying to use the fanboys to gain clarity. Happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering English. Today, we're going to be talking about definite and indefinite articles. The, and an. What are definite and indefinite articles? Well, articles are teensy words, you can think of them small, that usually tell if a noun is either specific or it's general. Because they modify nouns, articles are considered adjectives. In fact, they're the most commonly used adjectives. Two articles, the, and an, are going to be used in these sentences. I want to see if you can actually spot the article. Mark bought the bike. The definite article the implies that Mark bought one specific bike. Mark knew about it. That's why they use the, a specific bike. Now here's Mark again. Tell me if you can spot the article. Mark bought a bike. Can you spot the article And more so, can you identify if it's definite or indefinite? If you said as being the article and stated that was indefinite, you are correct. In this sentence, Mark bought a bike. The indefinite article refers to any bike in general. There was no specific implied. For you, I want you to remember that definite articles are in the category of non-count nouns, which is to say that the is also used as a non-count noun with items such as ideas or qualities that cannot be counted. Examples of non-count nouns are intangible, such as love, pollution, or health. The main emphasis here is that being that articles themselves are paired with non-count nouns. Definite articles are also paired with proper nouns. They're also paired with other items that we will get into later. What I want you to do is I want you to use the board that's in front of you to remind yourself when you're using the, a, and an as to which one is definite, which one is indefinite, and which one can be associated with non-count nouns. Welcome back. I am so proud of you of committing to mastering the English language. Today, we're going to talk about prepositions. What is a preposition? A preposition is a word or group of words used to link nouns, pronouns, and phrases to other words in a sentence. Some examples of prepositions include in, at, on, of, to, by, and with, or phrases such as in front of, next to, and instead of. Prepositions in English are most frequently dictated by fixed expressions, which is to say, while there are some general guidelines to follow, many prepositions are used idiomatically with certain verbs. In these cases, it is best to memorize the phrase instead of the individual preposition. There are a few rules for usage. Although there are hardly any rules as to when to use which preposition, most commonly prepositions define relationships between nouns and locate words, actions, or ideas in a particular time or place. So remember, the role of a preposition, notice its position and where it appears in the word. You want to consider the fact that there are prepositions of time. We categorize them not only by time, but there are also prepositions of place. For example, related to time, we might use the preposition of in, such as in August, in the evening. We might also use the preposition of at, such as at breakfast, at night. Or we could be using the preposition of on, as in on Friday. There are some other prepositions related to time. You might consider since, for, from to, until, or by. Going to places. Prepositions in place identify the location. They also identify to the reader or the listener direction. For example, take the preposition of from. For the origin, it speaks to a starting point. You might see it in sentences such as, I used carrots from the garden. I will be on vacation from July to August. You might also use the preposition of place, such as across. Across itself, the word speaks to movement from one side to another. For example, there is a coffee shop across the street. I swam across the lake. I'm going to make sure that you have it in place. Speaking of places, I'm going to share 2 more prepositions of place. The next one is between. Between speaks to a place that is in between 2 items, 2 things, 2 objects. For example, in the sentence, I was standing between my friend and my parent. Take the next sentence and see if you can spot where the word is. The gap between the rich and poor keeps growing. When we talk about prepositions, prepositions of time, prepositions of place, we cannot remove the fact that prepositions also speak to connections. In the connections, our options will include the preposition of, the preposition of with, as well as the preposition of by. Let's go to the first of. Of, used in this sentence, is suitable. The keyboard of my computer is pink. Richard is the son of Audrey. Switching to with. You might hear with the preposition of connection used, such as, I spilled coffee on the computer with a pink keyboard. I think Sarah is studying with Tara. When we think of the preposition by, we might hear it in sentences such as, my roommate saved my life by killing the spider. Your board in front of you indicates that a preposition can be used for direction, for location, and time. I encourage you to practice. Practice writing as well as verbalizing your prepositions, and be mindful of it. Most importantly, happy learning! Welcome back! I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we are going to talk about direct and indirect objects that pair with verbs. What are direct and indirect objects? Direct and indirect objects complete the meaning of an action word, such as Lynn cried is a complete sentence, but Lynn gave is not. It makes you ask, Lynn gave what or whom? Insert an object to make the sentence complete. Lynn gave a pen. Here, pen is a direct object. If we had another noun or pronoun in between the verb and the direct object, we'll have an indirect object. Here's an example. Lynn gave her a pen. The indirect object her tells to whom Lynn gave a pen. So what is a direct object in a little more detail? The direct object is the receiver of the action expressed by the verb. It answers the question what or whom. Remember that a direct object follows after the verb it complements. Here are the examples of sentences with direct objects and the verbs they complement. She always brings an umbrella to work. Can you spot the direct object? The direct object answers what she brings. Kay met him at the festival. Can you spot the direct object and what it answers? The direct object answers whom Kay met. Remember, phrases and clauses can be direct objects. An example being, Liz loved her cat. The direct object answers what Liz loved. Or, can you call Amy? The direct object answers whom to call, Amy. A sentence can in fact have multiple direct objects for different verbs. Here's an example. Hillary started her music career when her father gave his approval. Another example of multiple direct objects for different verbs would be this. The chef created a new recipe for the special guests, but they didn't like it. Now that we've gone into a little more detail about direct objects, we are going to touch upon the indirect for a moment. The indirect object tells to whom or what, or for whom or what, the action of the verb is done. The indirect object always comes between the verb and the direct object. Here are a few examples of indirect objects and direct objects. Sam made Sophie a doll house. Can you spot the indirect object? If you said Sophie, you are correct. Sophie is the indirect object which tells for whom the dollhouse is made. To expound, the subject Sam is the doer of the verb. The direct object is the dollhouse. Here's another example. See if you can answer what question it's answering. Father gave our neighbors the empty baskets for the garage. If you were thinking, to whom did the father give the empty baskets? That is correct. And in this sentence, to whom are the neighbors. Let's try it one more time just so I make sure you have it. Listen closely to this sentence. See if you can figure out who it's talking about, or rather, to whom. The manager left the employees a memo. If you were thinking, to whom did the manager leave a memo, and followed it with the employees, you are correct. That is the employees. Remember, indirect objects are not always present in a sentence that has a direct object. A sentence can keep its meaning without the indirect object. Use the board you have in front of you to practice direct objects and indirect objects. Happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for beginning this journey of mastering English. There are so many components to English, but we are going to start with a simple sentence. Let's learn a little bit more about simple sentences. We've been taught since preschool that the basic parts of a sentence are its subject and its verb. Taking that to heart, let's consider the fact that the simple sentence is not the only one in the ballpark. No, no, no. There is also the compound sentence and the compound complex. Why do we need to learn this? Well, because the plain existence of a subject and a verb in a sentence isn't enough to fuel your message. You want to be able to familiarize yourself so you can have a variety. Not only that, but to be honest, you're going to sound more intelligent and more compelling. Absolutely. So, what is a simple sentence? A simple sentence is the most basic type of structure. In plain language, it has one independent clause and one subordinate clause. Recall that an independent clause is what it states. It's a group of words that has a subject and a verb, yet it can stand on its own. On the other hand, we have the subordinate clause, also known as the dependent clause. There you have it. Dependent means that the group of words that do not express a complete thought must be attached to something else in order to convey the entire meaning. Here are some examples. I'm going to give you a simple sentence. We found the missing cat. Pretty simple. They found the bills. Also simple. A simple sentence may have a compound subject, a compound verb, or both. Let's take a look at an example. Ryan and his friends auditioned for the role. Can you find the compound subject? If you said Ryan and his friends, you are 100% correct. That is the compound subject. Let's give it another try. The teacher and her students discuss the homework. Can you find the compound subject? If you said the teacher and her students, you were correct. Absolutely. So, what you have in front of you is another reminder. To keep it simple, you have one independent clause and no subordinate clause. Welcome back. I am so proud of you. I love the fact that you're dedicating this time to master English language. Today, we're going to be talking about compound sentences. You're going to learn a little bit more about what in the world is a compound sentence. So what is a compound sentence? A compound sentence has two or more independent clauses, but it doesn't have a subordinate clause. These independent clauses are usually joined by coordinating conjunctions. So, if you have difficulty remembering what a coordinating conjunction is, there is an infamous acronym to use. You can use fanboys. Most commonly, fanboys is used, and it represents for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. You can spot them in the examples that I'm going to give you. Here are some examples of coordinating conjunctions that connect two independent clauses. Let's see if you can identify the coordinating conjunction. Becky baked too many cookies, yet she did not give me any. Can you spot the coordinating conjunction? If you said yet, you're correct. Yet in that sentence is in fact the coordinating conjunction. Here's another example. Try to spot the coordinating conjunction. Chris writes love letters to Marissa every day, but she never reads them. Can you spot the coordinating conjunction? If you said but, you are correct. But is the actual coordinating conjunction in that sentence. You are on a roll. Let's try it one more time. The wind howls, the trees dance, and the darkness wraps the night. Can you spot the coordinating conjunction? If you said and, you are correct. And is in fact a coordinating conjunction. But here's words to the wise. Do not confuse a compound sentence with a simple sentence having a compound subject or a compound verb. Remember that a compound sentence needs at least two independent clauses, regardless if they have a compound subject or a compound verb. A simple sentence versus a compound sentence. How do I know when I'm using one versus the other? Let's take a look at an example that compares the two. I'm going to read a sentence. I'm going to read another sentence. I want to see if you can spot the compound sentence. Let's get to it. Here's your first one. Music and movies make the world a better place and give us a reason to live. Music and movies make the world a better place, comma, for they help us to see life from different perspectives. Which one of those two had a coordinating conjunction? If you identified the coordinating conjunction in being in the second sentence as being for, you are correct. It was the second sentence that had the coordinating conjunction. So here's the million-dollar question. Which one of those two were the compound sentence? If you said it was the sentence that had the for, as in the second sentence, you are correct. Music and movies make the world a better place, comma, for they help us to see life from different perspectives, is in fact a compound sentence. Compound sentences do in fact have those coordinating conjunctions, but as I mentioned, sometimes you might have a sentence that has a compound subject or a compound verb. So I'm going to take this opportunity simply to give you one example of each. What is an example of a compound subject? Here it is. Our souls, comma, our reason, comma, our thumbs, comma, and our speech devoted themselves to the learning truth. That is an example of a compound subject. Here's your example of a compound verb. He lived, comma, died, comma, and was resurrected many times. That was an example of a compound verb. Use the board in front of you to review compound sentences. Use it to remind you the fanboys and how to implement them in your everyday English. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we're going to talk about compound complex sentences. What is a compound complex sentence? We've been taught in preschool that the basic parts of a sentence are its subject and its verb. Taking that to heart, let's delve a little bit deeper in terms of the compound complex sentence. As its name suggests, it's a combination of the compound and the complex sentence. Like a compound sentence, a compound complex sentence has two or more independent clauses. And just like a complex sentence, it also has one or more subordinate clauses. Remember, at least two independent clauses and at least one subordinate clause. Here are some examples of compound complex sentences with subordinate clauses. First, despite a hard year, we managed to achieve some personal goals and we found faith in ourselves again. Two independent clauses. They are, we managed to achieve some personal goals, and we found faith in ourselves again. Did you spot the subordinate clause? If you said despite a hard year, you are correct. That is the subordinate clause in that sentence. Let's try it again. He is an engineer who fell in love with marketing after graduation. So he's now leading an advertising firm that claims a massive success. Did you spot the two independent clauses? If you said he is an engineer and he's now leading an advertising firm, then you are correct. Those are the two independent clauses. Did you spot the three subordinate clauses? If you said who fell in love with marketing after graduation and that claims a massive success, you are correct. Those are the three subordinate clauses. We're going to try it one more time because I want to make sure you have it right. Here goes number 3. We should fight for the displaced locals who own the land that the mining corporation claims, because this issue has been going on for decades, and the poor locals are always at the losing end. Did you spot the two independent clauses? If you said we should fight for the displaced locals and the poor locals are always at the losing end, you are correct. Those are the two independent clauses. Did you spot the three subordinate clauses? If you said who owned the land that the mining corporation claims, and because this issue has been going on for decades, you are correct. Those, in fact, are the three subordinate clauses in that sentence. Here in front of you is your board reminding you that a compound complex sentence does have at least two independent clauses and must have at least one subordinate clause. Turn to your board whenever you need a refresher and practice, 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 both verbally and in writing. Happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we are going to be talking about verb tenses. That's when action actually occurs. Aside from expressing what the subject does, verbs essentially show us the time of action. Verbs specify different time frames through different verb tenses. In short, verb tenses tell when an action occurred. The English language has three main verb tenses: past, present, and future. The past tense describes an action that happened in the past. For example, she watched the movie yesterday. The present tense refers to an occurring action or a continuous action, such as, she watches her favorite sitcom every night. Whereas the future tense talks about something that has yet to occur. It's an action that has not been completed. Verbs in the future tense need help verbs. We call these helping verbs. For example, she will watch the sitcom again tomorrow. Helping verbs are forms of verbs to be, to do, and to have, such as am, is, was, were, being, has, have, had will, shall, should, would, will be, did, do, will, do. Those are all helping verbs. However, when we think about verb tenses only coming in three forms, yes, you know what I'm going to say, there are actually more. There are 12 verb tenses. On your board, you have an example of 4. We have the simple verb tense, we have the progressive, we have the perfect, and of course the perfect progressive. I'm going to give you a sentence. and I'm going to show you how it fits in verb tenses. Simple is, in past tense, she smiled at me. Simple in present tense is, he smiles at me. Simple in future tense is, she will smile at me. We're going to switch to progressive. Listen to the difference between simple and progressive. Progressive in terms of the past tense would be this: he was smiling at me. Progressive in present tense would be this: she is smiling at me. Progressive in the future tense would be this: she will be smiling at me. Now let's switch gears and talk about an example for the perfect English verb tense. The perfect tense in past tense would be, she had smiled at me. Perfect in present tense would be, she has smiled at me. The perfect in the future tense would be, he will have smiled at me. Moving right along to the perfect progressive. The perfect progressive in past tense form would seem like this: he had been smiling at me. Perfect progressive in present tense form would be, he has been smiling at me. Perfect progressive in future tense form would be, she will have been smiling at me. Whew! That's a lot of verb tenses. I know it might seem a little bit difficult to memorize it all. However, though, I encourage you to keep practicing. It makes it easier. You'll be able to identify simple tenses and perfect tenses before you know it. As a reminder, simple tenses are the easiest to learn and to use. They express actions that have already happened in the past and are continuous or are occurring now in terms of the present. They also occur in terms of the future. As the name suggests, simple tenses use simple past and present tense verbs. For the simple future tense, the verb's base is joined by a helping verb, such as will, as in will plus verb's base form. Another way to express your future action is through the formula am /is /are plus going to plus verb base form. Here's an example of that. He applied for a job. That's the past tense. He applies for a job. That's the present tense. He will apply for a job. That is the future tense. So you start to get an idea of how to grid your simple, progressive, perfect, and present progressive. With regards to your practice, I encourage you to not only formulate sentences verbally, but as well as to write them. You'll be all the better for it, and it will get easier. Happy practice! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for making the commitment to master the English language. Today we're going to be talking about the 8 parts of speech. 8 parts of speech consist of the noun, the pronoun, the adjective, the adverb, the verb, the preposition, the interjection, and the conjunction. When you use your language, you are going to be tapping into one of these 8. Because it's the foundation of English itself, we're going to take a moment to revisit the definition and give you an example. Let's start with the noun. A noun is a person, place, or thing. For example, a student can be a noun. Park can be a noun. A chair can be a noun. Kindness can be a noun. Moving to verbs. Verbs are actions. You should have vividness in terms of imagery of movement when it comes to verbs. For example, a verb can be drinking, it can be studying, it can be running, it can also be feeling. The adjective. An adjective is a word that describes a noun. You began adjectives very early on in elementary school, and for most even prior to that in preschool. However, though, your adjectives as you got older should have gotten more mature. There are plenty of adjectives to choose from, but we are going to give you the example of the basics. An adjective can be happy, it can also be sunny. So what is a verb? A verb, as a reminder, is an action. However, though, an adverb is a word that describes a verb. An adverb also describes an adjective. It can also be another adverb. For example, he drives carefully. In that sentence, carefully is the adverb. She speaks English well. In that sentence, well is the adverb. So let's touch upon a conjunction. What is a conjunction? A conjunction is a word that joins other words together. It can also join phrases or clauses. For example, John and Mary. In John and Mary, and is the conjunction. It brings them together. Tea or coffee. In tea or coffee, or is the conjunction. I like you, but I cannot go out with you. But in that sentence is the conjunction. It brings the other thought together. So what is a preposition? A preposition is a word that describes a relationship between a noun and a noun or a verb or an adverb. Samples of prepositions made at your disposal can be in, on, at, into, beside, above, below, and with. So now we have two remaining 8 parts of speech, the interjection and the pronoun. Let's talk about the interjection. An interjection is a word that describes a sudden utterance, such as, oh, or ah. Pretty simple, right? The last 8th part of speech happens to be the pronoun. A pronoun is a word that replaces a noun or a noun phrase. For example, I admire Lily. She is a great woman. She, in that utterance, happens to be the pronoun. Let's see if you can spot the pronoun in this utterance. Where is John? He is at the clinic. Can you spot the pronoun? If you said he, that is correct. He is the pronoun. And there you have it, the 8 parts of speech. When you forget, simply use your board as a reminder. Happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for continuing your modules to learn how to master English language. What we're going to be covering in this section are sentence fragments. Fragments are in fact something you want to avoid. They make you sound unintelligible, And in this regard, learning how to fix them is an easy fix. So what is a sentence fragment? A sentence fragment is a group of words marked by a period which isn't automatically a sentence, which is to say that it's not a complete thought. Identifying sentence fragments is where you begin. How else are you going to know to fix it unless you know it's wrong? I'm going to give you an example. Here is a fragment. Because he arrived late. Because he arrives late is what we reference as a subordinate clause. It is a dependent clause and needs to be attached to something else in order to be a whole thought. Because he arrived late is not enough. If we added, he didn't see the meteor shower because he arrived late, then we know that we have a complete thought. It gives you everything you need to know about this person. I'm going to give you 2 examples. Let's see if you can identify the sentence fragment. When she left. His world fell apart when she left. Can you spot the sentence fragment? I'm hoping that you said that the sentence fragment was when she left. If you did, you are in fact 100% correct. One good way to understand the concept of a fragment is to imagine that person walking up to us and speaking while they're walking. If what the person speaks is only a fragment, our reaction would be to call them back and say, "Wait, what were you saying?" So imagine yourself as a person walking up and speaking. However, though, in this example, we want to make sure that you add all the words you wanted the listener to hear. So instead of saying, "flings her hair down," you would say, "a girl flings her hair down." The latter is what you're aiming for, conveying meaning. Instead of saying, "although a carriage flashed before them," you would say, "a carriage flashed before them while they were walking down the street." Think about it. Yes, yes, yes. Sentence fragments are a part of everyday language. However, there's a time to be informal, and as I've always mentioned, informality doesn't mean inappropriate use of language. And then there is a time to definitely convey structure. So keep it in mind while you're trying to examine and identify those fragments, and use this guide in front of you to learn how to fix those fragments. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for doing so well on your previous modules. Here we are. We are today going to be looking at run-on sentences. Run-on sentences are something you do not want to do. At the same token, in natural day speech, often at times you might come across that one person, perhaps you are that one person, who for whatever reason never puts a period. They just keep rambling and rambling and rambling with one sentence, going and going. And that is a run-on sentence. When we speak, our silence, our pauses, our gestures, our facial expressions complement what we say. We have to take a break. When we're writing, often at times this break, in terms of a pause, is noted as a comma in between our words. This happens in writing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that run-on sentences are just specific to verbalizing. You can do it in your writing as well, when you don't put that necessary punctuation. So, like the previous exercise, we are going to make sure that you know how to identify a run-on sentence and how to fix it. I'm going to give you a run-on sentence, and then I'm going to give you a moment to think about how you would fix it. Here's your run-on sentence. James Baldwin was one of the 20th century's greatest writers. His works were a powerful reflection on discrimination that made everyone rethink what they were doing. Okay, That was your run-on sentence. Now, how would you fix it? If you said, James Baldwin was one of the 20th century's greatest writers, period. His works were a powerful reflection on racial issues, period. That would be a great example of how to fix a run-on sentence. Using a period to end compound sentences. Think about it. Commas cannot end a sentence. I'm going to give you an example. A run-on sentence would state, Van Gogh was an artist genius who wasn't appreciated in his time. He created about 2,000 artworks in my favorite night, and it was called The Painting. All right, that was a lot for me to say even in giving you that example. So, how would you fix it? Hopefully, you were thinking and brainstorming and came up with an example that's close to this one. Van Gogh was an artist genius who wasn't appreciated in his time. Period. He created about 2,000 artworks, including my favorite, comma, The Starry Night. Period. So there you have it. An example of how to identify a run-on sentence as well as the way to fix it. Remember, you can always use the option of a semicolon instead of a coordinating conjunction to form two independent clauses. This is an option that's made available to you. Now, it does get a little bit more in depth. We're not going to go into the extreme details of identifying run-on sentences when you're using complex sentences. But what I do want you to remember is that run-ons go by very different names, which is to say that you might very well call it the comma fault, the comma splice, or the fused sentence. All three of these terms are actually pointing back to the run-on sentence. Use the guide that's in front of you. Follow the steps on how to fix a run-on sentence. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for making the commitment to master the English language. Today, we're going to talk about quotation marks, how to use them properly. Using a quotation mark before and after a direct quotation is something you're going to encounter a lot. Quoting directly means writing the exact words of a person said. For example, did you read the books I lent you? ? That particular question should be placed in quotation marks if it's followed by who actually asked it. Here's another example. He confessed, comma, quotation mark, I'm falling in love with you, period, quotation mark. A direct quotation begins with a capital letter, unless it's separated into two parts by expressions like he asked or he said. Take this example. We're going to reference a young lady named Celine. Did you read the books, comma, Celine asked, that I lent you last week? ? Can you tell where to place the quotation marks in that sentence? If you said quotation marks go around, did you read the books? And you also said that they go around, that I lent you last week, you are correct. See if you can spot where to place the quotation marks in this next sentence. This one has to do with Sab. Listen to me, he said. Sab, I like you. Can you spot where to place the quotation marks? If you said, before listen, and after me, as in listen to me, you are correct. If you also said, quotation marks go, around Sab I like you are correct. In these examples, quotation marks not only went in one spot, but they went in two spots. Another point to consider: separate a direct quotation from the rest of the sentence using a comma and an exclamation point or a question mark. For example, "What a lovely dress!" exclaimed Anne. Can you spot where to place the quotation marks? If you said, "Put them around what a lovely dress," you are correct. Before you enclose them in quotation marks, make sure that the question marks and the exclamation points are part of the quotation. Otherwise, place them outside the closing quotation mark. For instance, if you were going to say, "Why are we here?" he wondered, you would place the quotation marks before why and after the quotation mark of the question mark. Let's try this one. "He screamed, 'Set us free!'" If you said, "Put the quotation marks before set and after the exclamation point on 'set us free," you are correct. Moving on to the third point I want to make. Use one set of quotation marks to enclose quotations with two or more sentences. Take the example, Mrs. Geller narrates, "Matilda dreams of having a new family. She spent 12 years in the orphanage, patiently waiting to get adopted. I hope her prayers get answered on her upcoming 13th birthday." Quotation marks in that example of narration would be before Matilda and after birthday. Moving to number 4. Use single quotation marks to enclose a quotation within a quotation. Yes, you can have a quotation within a quotation. For example, "My favorite part was Ross yelling 'Pivot, pivot, pivot,'" said Rachel. Or, "I yelled, 'I quit,' in front of the House of Bosses," shared Kathy. Each of those had a single quotation mark to endorse the quotation within the quotation. Number 5. For the last point, use quotation marks to enclose titles of books, of movies, titles of songs, and even poems. If you're going to say, "I read The Alchemist 100 times," then the quotation marks go around the and Alchemist. Let's see if you can find the quotation marks in this title. "He loves classic songs like Count Basie's 'Fly Me to the Moon.'" Can you see where to place the quotation marks? If you said "before fly and after moon," you are correct. So use your board when turning to quotation marks. Make sure you know where to place them, and most importantly, practice, practice, practice. Happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we're going to talk about modifiers, detailing your sentences with modifiers. So what is a modifier? Modifiers are words or phrases that modify, describe, or add detail to another word in a sentence. Adverbs and adjectives are modifiers. So are phrases and clauses. Adverbs modify a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Adjectives modify a noun or a pronoun. Words may form phrases and clauses to modify another word. Let's use a couple of examples. He arrived early. The adverb early modifies the word verb. Your paintings are majestic. The adjective majestic modifies the noun. In this case, the noun is paintings. The teacher from Spain gave us a language exam. The phrase from Spain modifies the noun. In this case, it's teacher. My best friend who loves dogs adopted a puppy again. The clause who loves dogs modifies the noun best friend. Remember, notice the change in meaning of each sentence as we move along about modifying phrases. For example, from Spain, the teacher gave us a language exam. The teacher gave us a language exam from Spain. The teacher from Spain gave us a language exam. The first sentence means the teacher was in Spain when he or she gave us an exam. The second, that the exam was from Spain. The third, that the teacher was from Spain. The placement of the modifying phrase from Spain changes the meaning of each sentence. Those are all clear and correct sentences, but you should aim for the one that conveys your thought. A seamless arrangement of words in a sentence is crucial for comprehension. So make sure that you follow the word flow in a way that communicates what you intend to mean. Keep in mind that placements of modifiers, when modifiers are placed too far from the word, they modified common errors occur. They modify, but yes, I'm going to say it again, common errors do occur. To avoid this, to avoid the confusion, place the modifying word or the phrase near the word modified. Prepositional phrases as modifiers is something to keep in mind. When using a prepositional phrase as a modifier, always, I said always place the phrase near the word it modifies. Think about it. Here's an example. The woman was baking cookies in a red dress. That's not as clear as the woman in a red dress was baking cookies. Ah, that's much better. Try this one. The bag was left on the bed with the pink zipper. Huh? Try this one. The bag with the pink zipper was left on the bed. That's much better. You have in front of you a board that reminds you about what I'm referencing in terms of misplacement. What is a misplaced modifier? A misplaced modifier is a modifier, as in a word, a phrase, or a clause, that's placed too far from its modified word, resulting in ambiguity, an ambiguous sentence, such as, in the aquarium, Luke fed the fish. This sentence wrongly suggests that Luke was in the aquarium. Place the modifier as near as possible to the words modified. Look at the way that the second sentence reads. Luke fed the fish in the aquarium. The clause modifies the noun fish. So in this example, you definitely want to shoot for the second version. Keep practicing both verbally and in writing, and more so, happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you of making a commitment to mastering the English language. Today, we're going to talk about the comma. A comma is a punctuation mark that signifies a short break or pause in a sentence. Unlike a period, a comma does not end a sentence. It merely allows the reader to breathe. Commas are used to separate a series of more than two words, phrases, or clauses in an idea. For example, we need to study for math, English, and science exams tomorrow. You would place a comma after math, after English. It would be wrong to say, we need to study for math, comma, and science exams tomorrow. There's no need for a comma in this sentence. Remember, the final comma before the last word in the series, math, English, and science, is optional, but it makes the sentence clearer. You want to remember to use a comma to separate two or more adjectives describing a noun. For example, her beautiful, caring mother bakes delicious cookies. Can you spot where to place the comma? If you said, after beautiful, and you are correct. Her beautiful, caring mother bakes delicious cookies requires a comma after beautiful. Let's see if you can spot the comma in this sentence. She has a soft, kind, comforting voice. Can you spot where to place the comma? If you said, after soft and after kind, you are correct. Remember, do not use commas for adjectives that are closely connected to the noun described. For example, he gets angry over forgettable, comma, minor details. There's no comma between minor and details because they are closely connected and can act as one term. See if you can see it here. She kissed the baby's soft, comma, chubby little hands. There's no comma between chubby and little hands because they are essentially related and can serve as one term. Remember to use a comma before a conjunction that connects independent clauses. These conjunctions are and, but, or, nor, for, and yet. An independent clause is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. This is something we covered in other modules. A fourth point. Use commas to separate non-essential clauses and phrases from the rest of the sentence. A non-essential phrase or clause is a group of words that can be omitted without losing the meaning. Number 5. Use a comma after a phrase or clause that begins a sentence. For example, after graduation, comma, we went our separate ways. Here's one more example. Tell me if you can find where to place the comma. During December, she comes home to be with us. Can you spot where to place the comma? If you said after December, you are correct. some phrases and clauses at the end of a sentence, they don't need a comma. Which brings us to our sixth point. Use commas to separate interrupters, appositives, parenthetical expressions, and direct addresses from the rest of the sentence. So what is an interrupter? That's a great question. Interrupters are words that interrupt the sentence, such as well, yes, no, why, and of course. An appositive, on the other hand, is a word that renames the noun it follows. It usually gives more detail about the noun itself. An appositive phrase is composed of an appositive and other words connected to it. For example, he grew up in Japan, comma, the land of the rising sun. The last phrase, the land of the rising sun, is an appositive phrase because it identifies Japan. Let's try one more. Jose Rizal, comma, the Philippine national hero, comma, died in 1896. The Philippine national hero is the appositive phrase. Do not use a comma or commas to separate an appositive that is essential to the noun it identifies. And remember, parenthetical expressions are also called a kind of interrupter in the form of a phrase. Parenthetical expressions are not necessarily essential to the meaning of a sentence. Examples of parenthetical expressions are I think, I suppose, however, in my opinion, in fact, of course, mind you, for example, for instance, and to be honest. Use a comma to separate them from the rest of the sentence. An example of this would be, in my opinion, comma, the film was great. Mind you, comma, everything is temporary, which brings us to our seventh and last reminder related to commas. Use a comma in writing dates, addresses, and salutations of friendly letters. Do not use a comma if a preposition separates the details of the address itself. I hope this review on commas has been helpful. I encourage you to turn to your board and fact-check your writing just to make sure that you have it right. More so, happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we're going to talk about using colons, making a list, noting what follows. What is a colon? Although rarely used to compare to commas to semicolons, a colon is convenient for listing items and words and phrases. A colon is written like a stack of two periods and can be read as note what follows. I want to give you some reminders about when you might consider using a colon. Use a colon before a series of items, especially after phrases like as follows or the following. For example, Joey's favorite food is as follows, colon, sandwich, pizza, and baked macaroni and cheese. Now let's see if you know where to place the colon in this sentence. This is my schedule on Sunday. Morning jog around the village, online meeting at lunchtime, and virtual church fellowship in the evening. Can you spot where to place the colon? If you said after Sunday, you are correct. You would place the colon after Sunday. Keep in mind, do not capitalize the words following the colon, unless of course it's a proper noun or another independent clause or sentence. Let's try it again. I want to make sure you have it in place. My favorite colors are as follows: pink, teal, and yellow. Can you spot where to place the colon? If you said after follows, you are correct. Isabel faced a challenge, asking for help. Can you spot where to place the colon? If you said after challenge, you are correct. Moving right along, I'm going to remind you to use a colon after an independent clause for emphasis. In instances, you might use it for clarification. Seen in this example, his mother loves decorating the house, colon, she studied interior design in college. Use a colon to introduce a quotation after an independent clause, such as this example. He was reminded of his favorite Bible verse, "I can do all things through Christ." You would place the colon after verse. The colon introduces the quote, which is interchangeable with a comma. It's up to you in this case as to which you use. You want to also remember the third point. Third point is to use a colon to separate items when writing the time and after the salutation of a formal letter. I expect him to arrive before 4:30 p.m. Dear Miss Marcello. Those are examples where you would use a colon to separate the items when writing time as well as the salutation. Well, there you have it. Use your board like your other boards. Refer back to it to remind yourself as to when to use the comma versus the colon. Happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to master the English language. Today we're going to talk about semicolons. The combination of punctuation is critical to making sure that your writing reflects the stellar skills that I know you possess. So what is a semicolon? A semicolon is a combination of a period and a comma. It signals a pause or a short break with more impact than that of a comma, but it does not end a sentence like a period. Semicolons signify an essential correlation between phrases and clauses where a comma or a period alone will not suffice. I want you to remember these key points when you're deciding on whether to use a comma versus a semicolon. Number 1, use a semicolon between independent clauses that are not joined by conjunctions. Conjunctions such as and, but, or, nor, for, and yet. Here's an example. She was crying all night. Semicolon. I didn't ask why. Using a period is optional, but it will not show the strong correlation between the clauses. Here's another example. Her father died 2 decades ago. Semicolon. She still misses him every day. Period. 1/3 example, just so I make sure you have it. The family went to the beach. Semicolon. Bianca was left behind, period. Do not capitalize the word immediately following the semicolon. That's a must to remember, otherwise it'll be grammatically incorrect. Unless it is a proper noun like Bianca. Remember, use a comma instead of a semicolon if the independent clauses are very short and are not connected by conjunctions. Point number 2. Point number 2 will remind you about the independent clauses, but let me explain a little bit further on how it delineates number 1. Use a semicolon between independent clauses joined by words such as, for example, for instance, that is, besides, accordingly, moreover, nevertheless, furthermore, otherwise, therefore, however, consequently, instead, and hence. You need to know the proper use of punctuations, otherwise you'll fail the exam. Can you spot where we would have placed the semicolon in that sentence? If you stated that the semicolon came after punctuations, you are correct. You need to know the proper use of punctuations, semicolon. Otherwise, comma, you'll fail the exam, period. Try it again. See if you can spot where to place the semicolon. She stayed up all night watching Netflix. Consequently, she fell asleep during her class. Did you spot where to place the semicolon? If you said after Netflix, you are correct. She stayed up all night watching Netflix, semicolon. Consequently, comma, she fell asleep during her class. I am proud of the work that you're doing. Let's go to point number 3, which will help you. Use a semicolon to separate phrases or clauses that already have commas. Let's see if you know where to place it. A beautiful brown-eyed woman enters the small, unkept room, and the noisy, impatient students await. Did you spot where to place the semicolon? If you said after room, you are correct. A beautiful, comma, brown-eyed woman enters the small, comma, unkept room, semicolon, and the noisy, comma, impatient students await. Let's try it again. See if you know where to place the semicolon. Her hobbies include writing poems, songs, and TV scripts, traveling to far-flung areas, teaching math, English, and literature, and painting landscapes. Well, if you had said to place a semicolon after scripts, correct. If you had also said to place a semicolon after areas, you are correct. And if you had said to place a semicolon after literature, in this example, you would have been correct. But actually, this example brings up a very important point. To avoid confusion, use semicolons to separate a long series of phrases from one or the other. So although it seemed as if there were way too many semicolons, in this example, it actually worked. Keep in mind the 3 points when you go to use your semicolons. Use your board, use it in writing, and practice, 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 both at the sentence level as well as paragraphs and narratives themselves. Happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for making the commitment to master the English language. Today, we are talking about hyphens. Usually shorter than a dash, a hyphen is a punctuation mark that joins two or more words together. It should not be mistaken with a dash that separates words or phrases or sentences. Hyphens are helpful tools to use when you're writing. Hyphens help clear the meaning of a sentence, such as, she's God-loving. Sounds like an incomplete sentence. Saying she is God who loves. Make it understandable. By inserting a hyphen between God and loving, you then eliminate the ambiguity. The resulting sentence is, she's God-loving. Now that conveys her God-loving attribute, not her God-level stature. In short, putting hyphens in the right place saves the reader some confusion, and it helps you be error-free. So I thought we would take a moment to review some key points. On your board you have 5 key reminders of when to use a hyphen. Let's go for number 1. Use a hyphen to connect compound modifiers that appear before the noun modified. Compound modifiers consist of 2 words acting as one adjective. These words can be an adjective, a noun, and participle. Let's see some examples. The once beautiful looking garden is now empty. Can you tell where I placed the hyphen? If you said beautiful looking, you are correct. Remember, the compound modifier is an adjective and a participle. Let's go for another example. See if you can spot where to place the hyphen. Her newfound friend helps her cope with anxiety. Can you spot where to place the hyphen? If you said newfound, you are correct. Let's go for a third. He sleeps on a cotton soft bed. Can you spot where to place the hyphen? If you said cotton soft, you are correct. Notice that removing the hyphens in the above examples that I just gave you make the sentence unclear. We don't want confusing sentences such as, he sleeps on a cotton soft bed without a hyphen. This would sound as if he sleeps on a type of mattress called cotton soft, or a bed made of soft cotton. The correct way is to put the hyphen between cotton soft in order to convey your meaning, the intended meaning. Also remember, don't use a hyphen if the modifier consists of an adverb and a participle. It would be wrong to say, her newly found restaurant serves eccentric food without the hyphen. Don't use a hyphen when it's not necessary. You want to make sure that you use your hyphens adequately. We're going to turn to number 2. Use hyphens with hyphenated compound words. Some of the hyphenated compound words are common in everyday English, which is to say you're going to come across them a lot. But it's best to consult your dictionary when in doubt. Make sure that the hyphens are supposed to go where you think they're supposed to go, such as long term. Long term has a hyphen. Short term. Short term has a hyphen. Full length. full length has a hyphen. Happy-go-lucky also has hyphens. In this instance, it's between happy and go and lucky. Let's turn to number 3. Use a hyphen with spelled out fractions and with compound numbers from 21 to 99. 2/3 of this is focused on making sure that two-thirds has a hyphen. We need to make sure that all of those numbers that are from 21 to 99 have the appropriate hyphen. Let's go to number 4. Use hyphens with compound modifiers containing numbers and fractions if they appear before the noun modified. It's just 30-minute seminar. Can you tell in that sentence where to place the hyphen? If you said between 30 and minute, you are correct. Try this one. See if you can spot where to place the hyphen. Christopher believes that careers are a 21st century invention. Can you spot where to place the hyphen? If you said between 21st century, yes, you are correct. Turning to number 5. In most words, use a hyphen with prefixes, such as ex, self, all, anti, and mid. Take this example. See if you can spot where to place the hyphen. Working out requires a lot of self-discipline. Can you spot where to place the hyphen? If you said between self and discipline, you are correct. Let's try one more. We met in the mid-1960s. Can you spot where to place the hyphen? If you said between mid and 1960s, you are correct. We're going to go for one more because I want to make sure you have it. He believes in an all-knowing higher being. Can you see where to place the hyphen? If you said between all and knowing, you are correct. So there you have it. Use your board as a key reminder when looking to place hyphens in your writing. And happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we're going to talk about personification. Personification is humanizing non-living things. Another type of figurative language that breathes life into one's writing is in fact personification. It attributes human characteristics, emotions, even behavior to animals and inanimate objects of ideas themselves. It helps you as a speaker and you as a writer to turn abstract concepts into a more relatable and engaging read. Everyday speech includes personification. Use personification to your advantage. Be creative to get your point across. Here's some examples. Darkness is an old friend he can't let go. The waves never get tired of kissing the shore. Did you see the clouds dancing? The stars winked at me. The typhoon swept their livelihood. Watch your tone, the walls are listening. Personification is not only used in everyday speech, it's also used in literature, as well as music, films, and advertising. The next time you want to use personification, I encourage you to turn to this board and remind yourself of some of the examples. Remember, personification is figurative language. Examples that you have include the clumsy turtle enjoys the sun. Death robbed her of the chance at happiness. You can hear the trees whisper in the dark. The stars danced in the midnight sky. You don't need to be Shakespeare to come up with some powerful personification. Simply take an object or an idea, perhaps it's even an animal, and throw some human attributes that best describe it. Go beyond the rational bounds. Discover new ways of understanding non-living things by making them human. It's called exercising your creativity, but more so, familiarize yourself with other examples of personification, because it's in understanding how to identify them that you can then begin to integrate them. Practice, 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 and happy learning. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we're going to talk about onomatopoeia. That's a very big word, a word that mimics a sound. From an early age, we're taught to identify animals by imitating the sound. For those of you in the audience that have children, I'm certain you've done it as well. For example, cats go meow, dogs go woof, moo for cows, and so on. The process of forming a word that mimics the sound of a thing or a person is called onomatopoeia, which is a term for the resulting word itself. Aside from animal sounds, onomatopoeia is alive in the clip-clop of a horse's hooves, the tick-tock of a clock, the woo of a crowd. It's everywhere. It can also be seen in the buzzing of a bee, the humming of a word, the smashing of a car, the creaking of a window. Onomatopoeia is in everyday speech. You probably have used it yourself, perhaps without even knowing it. It's a constant in our everyday conversation. Recall a word that perhaps you used that echoed the actual meaning itself, and notice how it intensifies the story. Onomatopoeia carries vividness. It carries energy. Here are a few examples of everyday speech. Let's join the people's clamor for the individual's resignation. She was humming while crossing the road, and bam! A glorious truck hit her. Peace comes with the crashing waves, the whispering of wind, and the rustling of trees. Onomatopoeia goes beyond the everyday language. It is tied to our use of literature. It is tied to our poetry. It's even tied to our pop culture in terms of pow, wham, bam, whiz. Those are examples of onomatopoeia. And what you have in front of you is a board. Turn to this board whenever you want to consider some of the examples, such as the crashing of waves, the whopping of success, and the sizzle, sizzle, sizzle of a snack. Use the onomatopoeia to your advantage. It carries the energy and the excitement you need to not only entrance your listeners, but to excite yourself. Welcome back. I'm so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Today we're going to talk about who versus whom. What's the difference? Understanding the difference between who versus whom can quite honestly be confusing. Both words are pronouns, but they serve different functions in a sentence. Who is used as a subject, such as, who ate the cake? On the flip side, whom serves as an object of a verb or a preposition. To whom did you give the letter? Here are some examples of the way that we use who versus whom. Who opened the windows? In this sentence, who is the subject or the doer of the action? She's the teacher who flunked the whole class. In this sentence, who identifies the subject she? Whom did you see? Whom is the object of the verb see? For whom are all these gifts? Whom is the object of the preposition and the proposition for? Keep in mind that choosing between who and whom is a real head-scratcher, honestly. However, if you try to identify them ahead of time, it'll be much easier to implement them in your everyday speech. On the board, you have an example of how to use who, which is a subject pronoun, and whom, which is a subject pronoun. Remember that who and whom are relative pronouns that relate or add detail to a word in a sentence. They do that by introducing subordinate clauses. The other relative pronouns are that, whose, which, where, and when. For example, here are some sentences with who, whom, subordinate clauses. Jane was the only student who passed the exam. Who relates to the subject Jane. Don't marry a guy whom you just met. Whom relates to the guy, the object of the verb marry. When you can't decide which to use in a subordinate clause, apply some thought. Think about it. In the sentence, Jane was the only student who passed the exam. Who is the correct because of the fact that the rewording of the subordinate clause and replacing it with she makes perfect sense. She who passed the exam. The second example is a bit trickier, but looking closely at the subordinate clause leads us to the right track. Whom you just met can be altered into you just met him. Whom? It would be weird to say, you just met he, so go with whom. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. We are going to be talking about that versus which. Which versus that. How are they different? Which and that both connect an adjective clause to a noun or a pronoun modified, but they differ in terms of the relevance of the clause attached to them. For example, clauses can be defined in two ways: restrictive, which is essential, and non-restrictive, which is not essential. A restrictive clause contains information that is essential to the meaning of the sentence itself. Thus, omitting it will sacrifice the thought of the sentence. That's something that we don't want. That is used to introduce a restrictive clause. Here's your example sentence. The indie film that won 3 international awards starred Maliver. Here you can infer that there were many indie films starring. the individual, but there's only one that won the award. Removing the restrictive clause will leave us a different meaning. The second kind of clause is what we referred as non-restrictive. Non-restrictive clauses add extra information, but they are not vital to the meaning of the sentence itself. You can remove them without losing your message, which introduces non-restrictive clauses, and they are usually framed by commas. For example, our trip to Japan, comma, which we scheduled in June, comma, was canceled because of the pandemic. Ugh. Here, the restrictive clause only supplies additional information about the Japan trip. There's only one trip being referred to, so even if you remove the clause, the meaning won't change. Our trip to Japan was canceled because of the pandemic. Remember, most of the times that and which also appear at the end of a sentence, but rarely are they ever used at the beginning of the sentence. Which versus that examples. I want to give you a few more, so I want you to listen closely. Here, the restrictive clause is factually wrong. So listen closely to see if you can actually spot the mistake. Mars, comma, which is the fourth planet from the Sun, comma, is half the size of the Earth. Can you spot the mistake? The non-restrictive clause provides an interesting fact about Mars, but it isn't crucial to the sentence. The sentence Mars is half the size of the Earth still gets the message across. I want you to consider practicing that versus which. Use the board in front of you to help guide you in your introductions. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for mastering the English language and continuing to practice on that journey. Today you have entered the practice module exercises. This one is going to be focusing on adjectives. I am going to read a sentence. Your job is to identify the adjectives in that sentence. You won't need to write the whole sentence. Simply write the adjectives you hear. Let's get started. Number 1. The young boy helped his father to wash the dirty car. Number 2. The pretty girl twirled in her new dress. Number 3. The clean windows shone brightly in the sunlight. Number 4. Mary put on her blue dress. Number 5. The green grass grows under the warm sun. Number 6. His yellow pajamas were so long. Number 7. The fluffy pillows covered his small bed. Number 8. She tied her long black hair in a ponytail. Number 9. The nervous cat jumped when the loud children entered the room. Number 10. Mark rode his green bicycle to the park. Number 11. The children danced to groovy music. Number 12. Luke organized his numerous toys on the shelf. Number 13. Tammy walked along the rocky shore. Number 14. It is dangerous to leave glass in the dirty sand. Number 15. Today is going to be a fantastic morning. Congratulations for completing this exercise. I hope that you are inspired to continue. You have more practice modules, so let's get to it, and happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. You have entered the practice phase. In this module, your job is to identify adverbs. I'm going to be reading 20 sentences. That's right, 20. Your job is to scribble down your adverbs. Listen closely. I am going to say the sentence once. The first sentence is, Mark Twain's books are still widely read. Number 2. By 6 o'clock, the ground was completely covered with snow. Number 3. Always work extremely hard. Number 4. Mr. Jones left his laundry outside in the rain. Number 5. Susan arrived too late for the party. Number 6. Sarah has worked hard for her promotion. Number 7. The little boy fell down on the gravel. Number 8. Tearfully, the old man put away his treasures. Number 9. He stepped inside cautiously. Number 10. Timidly, the child raised her hand in class. Number 11. He is not financially able to buy a very large house. Number 12. Mr. Smith is grading our term papers carefully. Number 13. My cousin will arrive at the airport at 6 o'clock. Number 14. If no one answers the door, leave quickly. Number 15. Mrs. Brown gazed sadly out the window. Number 16. Sit down quickly before the class begins. Number 17. He drove slowly as he approached the intersection. Number 18. I shall gladly help you. Number 19. Joan always remembers. Number 20. Sarah secretly longed to be a hero. And there you have it. Congratulations on completing this exercise on adverbs. I'm encouraging you to practice. Happy learning. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for mastering the English language. In this journey to mastery, you are participating now in practice exercises. This module will focus on exercising subject-verb agreements. I am going to read a sentence. The sentence will give you an option of 2 verbs to choose. Your job is to identify the correct verb for the sentence being given. Grab a piece of paper and a pencil. Make sure to write your answer. I will be moving on to the next one. You can then take an opportunity at the end of this module to replay the items. Let's get started. Number 1. The rhythm of the pounding waves is or are calming. Number 2. All of the dogs in the neighborhood were or was barking. Number 3. A high task, not to mention unemployment, influence or influences votes. Number 4. My friends and my mother like or likes each other. Number 5. The team and the band was or were on the field. Number 6. Building a good marriage and building a good log fire is or are similar in many ways. Number 7. John or Doris write or writes to us regularly. Number 8. Neither Carol nor Ted is or are excluded from the meeting. Number 9. Either Patty or Tam was or were asked to lead the meeting. Number 10. Neither the basket nor the apples was or were expensive. Number 11. Neither the apples nor the basket were or was inexpensive. Number 12. Either Maria or you was or were late for class. Number 13. Either you or Fred was or were late for class. Number 14. Hardest hit by the high temperatures and the drought was or were the farmers. Number 15. Neither of them like or likes going to the show. Congratulations on completing the subject-verb practice assignment. I encourage you to continue to practice the subject-verb agreements, and most importantly, revisit this module, listen to the questions asked, and revise your answers accordingly. Happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. You are now on the practice phase module. This module is going to be identifying sentence fragments. I am going to be reading 20 sentences. Your job is to identify whether it is a fragment by writing an F on your paper or if it is a complete sentence by writing an S. Make certain to listen closely. I'll only be reading the sentence once. Grab that pen, grab that paper, and let's get started. Your first sentence is, if your parents think today's fashions are weird. Write an S for complete sentence or write an F for fragment. Number 2. They should see the clothes people wore in the Middle Ages. Number 3. Patterns of floral or geometric shapes are popular. Number 4. Liked clothes that were half one color and half another. Number 5. Might have one green leg and one red leg. Number 6. People often heavy leather belts. Number 7. Edges of clothing into shapes called daggers. Number 8. Sleeves with streamers that were 2 or 3 feet long. Number 9. Shoes had long toes that were padded to retain their shape. Number 10. Tights of velvet or silk. Number 11. When clothes were edged and lined in fur. Number 12. Layers were very common in the Middle Ages. Number 13. Was a way of displaying wealth. Number 14. The more clothes a person could afford to wear, the wealthier that person was. Number 15. Might wear a short-sleeved tunic. Number 16. The usual head covering for men was a hood. Number 17. Women wore a neck-lock cloak. Number 18. On the top of the head would wear a veil, a linen, a crown, and a hat. Number 19. In the later Middle Ages, women wore jewelry. Number 20. Current fashions are a little boring. Congratulations on completing the Identifying Sentence Fragments module. I am so proud of you. Keep working at it and happy learning. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. Congratulations on having entered the practice modules. In this module, we are going to be testing your knowledge on comparatives and superlatives of adjectives. I am going to give you a word. Your job is to turn that word into the comparative form and then into the superlative form. Grab that paper and let's get started. Your first word is tall. Two, cheap. 3, expensive. 4, good. 5, lazy. 6, pretty. 7, beautiful. 8, difficult. 9, boring. 10, shy. 11, happy. 12, short. 13, famous. 14, comfortable. 15, ugly. 16, warm. 17, long. 18, intelligent. 19, wide. 20, thick. Congratulations on completing your module for comparatives and superlatives. I am so proud of you. Keep practicing. The more you do, the better you are. Happy learning. Welcome back. I am so proud of you for making a commitment to master the English language. You are in the practice phase. And so in this module, you're going to get an opportunity to exercise those coordinating conjunctions. I am going to read 20 sentences. You don't have to write the sentences. You only have to write the coordinating conjunction you hear. So let's get started. Number 1. He was very tired after a long day at work, but he washed all the dishes in the kitchen. Number 2. Miriam bought apples, oranges, carrots, and potatoes from the market in the center. Number 3. Mr. Robertson should stop smoking cigarettes immediately or he will get seriously ill. Number 4. I forgot to take my umbrella with me, so I got soaked. Number 5. Benjamin could get the job easily, for he was the only applicant. Number 6. He could neither have something to eat nor have something to drink. Number 7. My mother vacuumed the floor and I dusted the furniture. Number 8. Our math teacher gave us a scolding for being late. Number 9. I didn't have enough money to buy the laptop, so I borrowed some money from my friend. Number 10. Samuel really wanted to go to the concert, but he had to study math. Number 11. Either you finish the project on time, or the teacher will give you a bad mark. Number 12. James neither knew his telephone number nor his home address. Number 13. Mrs. Cunningham had enough money to buy the car, but she couldn't decide which one to choose. Number 14. The students decided not to go out on break, for it was snowing heavily. Number 15. The thief went into the house from the kitchen window and got the mobile phone on the table. Number 16. Most shampoos include chemicals in them, so I prefer to buy the natural olive soap. Number 17. Stop drinking too much Coke and eating a lot of fast food, or you will gain weight. Number 18. They were some injured players, but we could still win the match. Number 19. Abigail neither took a shower nor brushed her hair. Number 20. Benjamin fell asleep in a few minutes, for the book he started reading was quite boring. Congratulations on completing the module of coordinating conjunctions. I hope that you found it beneficial. As I always say, happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for committing to mastering the English language. You are in the practice modules, and today's practice module has to do with personification. Personification was a lesson that we covered previously. I know you can do it. In this practice exercise, I'm going to read a few sentences. Your job is to figure out, amongst those sentences, where is the personification occurring. Grab your pencil, grab your paper, and let's get started. There are a total of 9 items altogether. This is the first. The icy cold wind caressed her delicate face. She was scared as she made her way to the top of the mountain. The mountain called to her and urged her to continue. Where is the personification? Number 2. The tall tree wore its leaves beautifully. It had been growing for many years. The tree looked out over the town and had the thickest trunk and the greenest leaves. Number 3. Night was coming, and the dark clouds ran across the sky. It was clear that the rain was coming. The sky roared in anger as the rain petted the pavement. Number 4. The wind spoke to Amy and showed her the way. Her sister was lost, and she had to find her. The moon laughed at her from above as she made her way through the gloomy forest. Number 5. Her new car wasn't so new. It coughed up smoke every time she started it. "This is hopeless," she muttered to herself. All of a sudden, the car gave a loud scream and then turned off. "I give up," she said. Number 6. The flowers bowed to her as she skipped home. The sky was blue and the birds were singing. The trees stood tall and smiled down upon her. Number 7. Jack ran for his life. The forest was dark and scary. The leaves danced in the wind, and the sky darkened. His breaths became deeper, and the trees looked at him with caution. Number 8. Sally loved reading. She went to the library every day and watched the books run off the shelves. Sally loved the magic of the books, and the pages leapt. Number 9. Simon ran on the road every day. The road talked to him and made him feel good. He ran at a good pace, and his shoes ate the road so fast. Congratulations on completing your practice module on personification. I am so proud of you for working so hard at mastering the English language. Remember to practice both verbally and in writing. Most importantly, happy learning! Welcome back. I am so proud of you for making the commitment to master the English language. Congratulations also for entering the phase of practicing. Your practice exercise today centers on quotation marks. As a reminder, quotation marks show the exact words that somebody says. It highlights what they said. I'm going to read a sentence. Your job after I read the sentence is to place the quotation mark. I will be pausing for a moment to give you an opportunity to write your answer down. I encourage you to save the piece of paper to make sure that you can go back and reference it. So let's get started. You have 10 items. For number 1, here is your first sentence. Decide where to place the quotation mark. Work quickly. I will be moving to the second. Number 1. Where is the lizard now? Asked Tammy. Number 2. Josie said, "I saw it go behind the file cabinet." Number 3. We'll never find it, whined Sam. Number 4. Mr. Bailey said, "Let's calm down and look carefully." Number 5. "How did it get out anyway?" asked Randy. Number 6. "I don't want it climbing on me," exclaimed Chris. Number 7. "It's more scared of us than we are of it," said Earl. Number 8. "There it is!" shouted Tammy as the lizard scooted across the floor. Number 9. "I wish it would just go outside," sighed Josie. Number 10. "I think it will now," Chris said. Congratulations! If you found it difficult to keep up with the sentences, I encourage you to play this module back. We are working on both quotation as well as processing. Happy learning! Congratulations! I am so proud of you for mastering the English language. As part of your journey in mastering the English language, you have entered the practice phase. And so in your practice today, we are going to be focusing on commas. I am going to read 15 sentences. Your job is to figure out where to place that comma. Instead of writing the whole sentence, simply write the word that comes before the comma. Then place your comma on the paper. Let's get started. Number 1. Before using a comma, review the rules. Number 2. If you don't feel well, you should probably go home. Number 3. When your mom comes over, get her to bring your homework. Number 4. Jan said, "What time does the game start?" Number 5. Kate, Kim, Jared, Ian, and Sally made the soccer team. Number 6. I have $1.50. Is that enough to buy an ice cream cone? Number 7. Well, it's nice to see you finally finish lunch. Number 8. Hey, do you think it will be a nice day? Number 9. When I do my homework, I like to listen to music. Number 10. If you're hungry, have one of Grandpa's bars. Number 11. If I can get a ride, I'll attend your game. Number 12. When we finish our homework, let's go to the park. Number 13. My friend Kelly has a brand new bike. Number 14. I like dogs, cats, guinea pigs, and horses. Number 15. When we finish dinner, can we all call our friends? And there you have it. Congratulations on completing the comma practice exercise. As it is with any other exercise, doing it once is just simply not enough. I encourage you to seek out other items. Find those exercises not only on commas, but the other modules that you've been practicing. Write your answers, verbalize your answers. Most importantly, keep dedicating the time to continue to solidify your mastery. You are doing great. I am proud of you. Happy learning! Congratulations! This is a time to celebrate. You have completed all of the modules and practice exercises attached to this course, Mastering the English Language. I really am so proud of you for all the time that you dedicated to improving your communication. I invite you to return to sample some of my other courses, and I look forward to hearing the progress you've made. Thank you.